Hello everyone, this is Vio-là. We've all heard the term fake news. Now people consider the news much less trustworthy, and fake news has become a threat to democracy since it is often more easily to be widespread. In China, at the same time, how the news media is controlled and what Chinese people actually see through media. When I talk about news media in China, I mainly refer to the official media. Unlike other countries, our news media is rarely controlled or run by private companies, but by the state. Therefore, actually, the news media trust is closely bounding with government credibility in China. There is a surprising number. 91% of the Chinese population have faith in the government, which means a high level of news media trust. On the other hand, we know that there are some information keep being invisible to the public. For example, our youth unemployment rate has not been revealed for 3 years from 2023. National statistics claimed that the statistical criteria needed to be optimized. We clearly know that it's control over the information being put in front of the public. But why the Chinese don't worry about fake news? This is the official news website, the CCTV news. And you can see the front page talks about technologies and housing policies and something about electricity load. And downwards you can see there's lots of official answer questions about what people concerns and progress in new technologies and official interpretations of policies. It's the most important news that I want to introduce. This is about a bribe-taking case of a Chinese head officer. It briefly talks about the details and the progress of this case. And downwards we have some international news, but from the Chinese perspective, the Chinese interpretation, so you know how different the news will be in different countries, even it's about the same thing. In order to understand the Chinese news media, the most important idea is developing and changing. We do have strong state control over what and how to be reported, especially decades before. At that time, lots of information is banned, like scandals, inappropriate speeches, and of course, misinformation. Our official review system of news has always been very strict. Before a piece of news is reported to the public, there must be over 10 times of checks regarding its data, words, and means of expression. It leaves little space for fake or unreliable information to come out. And because of this complex review procedure, news and information in China is usually criticized as lack of transparency and accessibility. However, things gradually change in recent years. As the government realized that there is an increasingly important need for news transparency and accessibility, it began to add time limits of reporting different kinds of news. For example, press conference about disaster emergency is required to be held within 24 hours, and in some specific places, the official publicity of emergent information is shortened within 5 hours, and there is no requirement for completeness for the first report. In addition, for the most concerned public opinions, including public query against government decision and social problem, we can now expect an official investigation and reliable conclusion in a few days. In other words, the government is taking people's right to be informed much more serious. This kind of improvement has just taken places for several years and keep changing and improving rapidly all the time. From my own observation, thus for the unofficial parties, it is hard to catch up the newest delicate extent of what and how much to say. In this case, the safer choice might be speak as little as one can on seemingly sensitive topics. So we are now in a really interesting situation where the official news media seems more open and liberal than the unofficial ones. Due to these rapid, continuous, and small changes of Chinese government's opinion over news media, our skill of analyzing information from news has not yet been well practiced. Indeed, the control over speech has long been strict, making political analysis, especially when most people are actually not able to see political decision and news from an objective perspective, is sensitive. People themselves can make nonsense information and fake news and spread out so quickly and so wide, which will lead to unnecessary social panic. So we talk back about the special fundamental need for stability and life protection in China. It may come from the trauma of witnessing war and being invaded for many years, or long ago from our agricultural civilization. Anyway, although those are small progressing steps, the Chinese government is now working hard on making the news more transparency and more trustworthy.